boatload worse for Meghan Markle because her sister Samantha ain't going anywhere.
I do believe because there are no delivery certificates.
What if the royal fairy tale
was just smoke and mirrors?
And she would still be a waitress if it wasn't for him.
What if Meghan Markle's shiny image, the loving mom, the bold duchess, the modern royal, was not only exaggerated, but completely created from scratch?
Scandal comes as no surprise. Speculation about the children has been simmering for years.
For years, Meghan has told the world she was the outsider who beat the system, the woman who broke royal rules and made her own.
I was an only child, which everyone who grew up around me knows. I would have loved to have had siblings. That's why I'm so excited to be pregnant, so that Archie has some.
But her half-sister, Samantha Markle, says that story is nothing but an act. She says it was all planned, every bit of it. And now the cracks are starting to show. This is not just some silly family fight. This is about lies so big they could shake the entire royal family.
A big difference. It was deliberate.
We're not talking about mean headlines or gossip magazines. We are talking about claims that Meghan did not just twist the truth, she built a whole new identity. Some people even say her kids are fake, that they are computer-made. A new identity that does not fit reality, does not fit royal tradition, and if revealed, may not fit into her children's future.
This won't die down until the irrefutable truth comes out.
Because when a strange woman shows up saying she was the real mother behind Meghan's picture-perfect pregnancies, the question is not if Meghan can do another interview. The real question is, can the Duchess survive the truth?
Her kids are fake. They think they're AI.
Samantha Markle did not step into the spotlight to complain about being ignored. She came out swinging, smashing the shiny image her sister built piece by piece. From the moment she spoke, Samantha flipped the story. Meghan is not the victim of the press. She is the builder of her own fake kingdom. Samantha says what millions have whispered for years. This is not real, it is a show. A Hollywood script wrapped up in royal lace.
I lie. It was just so truly bizarre.
Silence everybody and just produce a DNA sample.
According to Samantha, Meghan did not just pull away from her family, she erased them like they never mattered. Every book, every interview, every carefully staged charity picture is, in Samantha's words, not truth, but propaganda. Meghan did not step into royalty with grace. She rewrote her own past to fit the role, cutting off anyone who did not match the image. Family ties erased, struggles rewritten, and motherhood. Samantha says that is the biggest lie of them all.
If you had those things, it would be very easy just to put them out there and say, this is what happened. This is what it is.
This is not some angry sister ranting. It is a direct hit at Meghan's honesty. Samantha does not act like a jealous sibling, but like the one finally ripping off the mask, leaving no in between. Either Meghan's story is real, or she has been wearing a costume so perfect, it fooled the whole world. And just when people thought Samantha's words were shocking enough, the story exploded. Out of nowhere, a woman known only as DL came forward, and she was not just talking trash, she brought proof. DL did not show up with rumors or silly theories. She came holding hospital bills, medical papers, and whispers about a strict non-disclosure deal. Her claim? She says she is the real surrogate behind Meghan's royal pregnancies.
She said, I lost my father. We knew that she didn't lose our dad. She iced our father.
DL says Meghan's glowing baby bump walks in the spotlight were nothing but a trick. She claims that while Meghan posed for cameras in fancy coats, she was the one carrying the real royal babies, alone, hidden, and silenced. She says promises of privacy and fair payment quickly turned to betrayal. According to DL, the royal fairy tale was so perfectly polished that it erased her from her own story. The images cut deep. While cameras snapped Meghan gently holding her fake baby bump, DL says the real story was happening in secret clinics and private homes, kept far from view. If even part of her story is true, Meghan did not just break royal rules. She turned lies into weapons, using motherhood itself as her most dramatic costume. At first, DL's story sounded like silly tabloid gossip, another wild rumor to feed the headlines. But then came the details. Not vague guesses, not recycled talk, but sharp memories of secret meetings in California, contracts signed in private rooms, and months of isolation that felt less like pregnancy and more like being locked inside a royal vault.
What she told the royal family, what she told Harry, wouldn't have jived, wouldn't have been consistent with.
DL paints a picture that feels too real to ignore. The loneliness of carrying two royal children while being erased from the story. This is not some nameless internet troll hiding online. DL speaks about health problems after giving birth, unpaid medical bills, and the heavy pain of being denied recognition. That is when the gossip turns dark. Meghan's shiny speeches about empowering women suddenly sound empty next to DL's version. Because if DL is telling the truth, Meghan was not lifting a woman up. She was pushing her down under a legal gag order. For years, critics called Meghan the actress who became a duchess. But DL takes it further. She says Meghan was not just acting as the royal rebel. She was acting as the mother. And the more DL talked, the harder it was to dismiss her as a conspiracy nut. Her words did not just question Meghan's image, they threatened to rewrite the whole royal story. You would think with claims this explosive, Meghan and Harry would rush to shut them down. One quick denial, a public statement, even a DNA test could have killed the story instantly. Instead, nothing. Silence. Loud, heavy silence. And in the public's eyes, silence is not dignity. It looks like guilt.
All of the pictures, my point is, out there were inconsistent with the idea of a real pregnancy.
DL even said she would testify under oath, hand over her records, and agree to DNA testing. Yet the Duke and Duchess acted like it did not exist. No statement, no proof, not even a weak denial. For critics, that silence was not classy. It was calculated. Because if there was nothing to hide, why leave the whole world guessing? Even Harry, the man once called the rebel prince, now looks like either part of the cover-up or just a pawn in someone else's plan. Did he know the truth from the start, or is he trapped in the same illusion as everyone else? Either way, refusing to speak makes him guilty too. And that is the strange twist. The couple who built their brand on speaking their truth suddenly lost their voices. Not blocked by the palace, not stopped by the press, but gone by choice. And that silence may be the loudest admission yet. Royal births are not just private family moments, they're public events, tied to centuries of tradition. Princess Diana stepped out of St. Mary's Hospital only hours after giving birth, tired but glowing, baby in her arms, proving to the world there was no secret. Kate did the same, 3 times, standing on those hospital steps with picture-perfect appearances, keeping the tradition alive. But Meghan, she broke every rule. No hospital steps, no quick press briefing, no clear proof of where the birth even took place. It was secrecy wrapped in confusion, wrapped in a PR disaster.
I thought, is she not contextually aware? She's trying to hide something. This is really sloppy.
Then came the photos that did not make sense, the timelines that did not match, and of course, the famous clip of the folding belly that still floats around like a ghost that will not die. Critics say that instead of following tradition, Meghan staged her own version of motherhood like a Hollywood movie, complete with props and perfect camera angles. For royal watchers, this was not a new chapter, it was a broken pattern. And in the monarchy, broken patterns create suspicion. What Meghan and Harry called privacy looked to many like hiding. And every break from tradition gave more fuel to conspiracy theories that were already burning. Because when you strip away all the sparkle, one question is left. Why did Meghan's royal motherhood look so different from everyone else's? This is where the whispers stop sounding like silly tabloid talk and start sounding like a real royal problem. Because if DL's claims are even partly true, the question is not just who carried the children, but whether those children are even allowed under centuries-old succession rules. Royal bloodlines are not built on feelings and PR spin. They are built on proof, family history, and openness. And when openness is missing, people question legitimacy. Tradition says royal heirs must be born from the royal womb, witnessed, recorded, beyond any doubt. But Meghan's pregnancies were covered in secrecy, hidden behind non-disclosure deals, and blurred by strange timelines. If surrogacy happened but was never admitted, critics argue it could shake the royal line of succession itself.
When you're pregnant, there's not a pillow under your skirt, and there's live footage of her walking towards camera with her abdomen swaying left to right in a black and white checkered dress.
Imagine two innocent children trapped in the middle of a royal storm, not because of who they are, but because of what may have been hidden about how they were born. And the monarchy does not deal in half-truths, it deals in absolutes. Either Archie and Lilibet were born the traditional royal way, or the whole story collapses under the weight of lies. That is why this is not just family drama anymore. It could be a full crisis, shaking the very institution Meghan once said she was modernizing. When most people are accused, they fight to clear their names. Meghan and Harry, they called their lawyers. The moment DL's story started spreading, reports said the Sussex legal team went into overdrive, firing threats at media outlets, warning anyone not to repeat the claims. But here's the catch. Threats went out, yet no real denial ever came. Not once did Meghan or Harry say, "This is false, here's proof." Instead, they chose to fight with fear, not facts. And the irony is harsh. This is the couple that sold themselves as truth tellers, building an empire on emotional interviews and dramatic documentaries. Yet when asked the simplest thing, to disprove the surrogate story, they stayed silent, hiding behind lawyers. To critics, that does not look strong, it looks scared. PR experts ripped apart the strategy. Legal threats might scare newspapers, but they don't silence the internet. They don't silence whispers. In fact, the lack of denial only added more fuel, making DL's stories sound less like gossip and more like a hidden truth. Because in scandals like this, the real issue is not only what is said, but what is not said. And Meghan and Harry's silence speaks louder than any lawyer's letter ever could.
The physician was not allowed to examine her womb. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but if I were pregnant with a royal child, you would want that child in the best care of the best medical practitioners that money could buy.
Once the silence dragged on, the tide shifted. Polls showed a harsh turn. More and more people started to believe DL's story over Meghan's carefully built image. The once strong Sussex brand, built on glossy documentaries, headline-making interviews, and polished PR moves, suddenly looked fragile, like a house of cards in a storm. Oprah's big Sit Down, the Netflix series, the speeches about truth and authenticity, everything got dragged back into the spotlight and rewatched with doubt. What once looked like empowerment now felt like performance. Behind palace walls and Hollywood mansions, whispers grew louder. Meghan and Harry were not just fighting tabloids anymore. They were losing the public. Insiders painted a picture of a couple under pressure, not from the press this time, but from their own crumbling reputation. Stories came out about tension at home, about Meghan and Harry living more like business partners than husband and wife, struggling to keep the brand alive while the ground broke under them. And Samantha did not miss the chance to twist the knife. To her, this was not karma. This was exposure, the fall of a story built on illusion. The duchess, who promised to rewrite the royal tale, now stood accused of writing the biggest royal fiction ever. And until Meghan answers, her silence will echo like a guilty verdict. So here we are. Samantha Markle's attacks cut deep. DL's surrogate story exploded, and Meghan and Harry's silence became the loudest answer of all. What started as family whispers has now blown up into a possible constitutional mess, a PR nightmare, and a collapse of trust that no Netflix paycheck can fix. The Duchess once sold herself as a symbol of truth, strength, and reinvention. But the longer these claims go unanswered, the more her image changes from inspiration to illusion. And that is the sad part. The fairy tale Meghan tried to control is no longer hers. Every question left unanswered creates more doubt. Every legal threat without denial makes the silence heavier. And with every day that passes without clarity, the so-called modern royals look less like bold rebels and more like actors stuck in a fading script. But here is the twist. This is not the first time Meghan's carefully guarded stories started to crack. If you thought today's claims were explosive, wait until you hear the secret Tom Bower uncovered that left Meghan completely furious. We broke it all down in our last video. Do not miss it. This is Star Spotlight, shining light where others will not. And trust me, the next chapter is even darker.